Welcome, everybody, to the Every Brain Matters monthly speakers meeting, where we are going to have a panel discussion on how to navigate through the holidays despite the challenges cannabis might be bringing to our lives. My name is Aubrey Adams. I'm the director of Every Brain Matters, which is a nonprofit community developed by families that are negatively impacted by today's industrialized marijuana. We come together tonight to connect, to find hope in our shared experiences, and to heal by seeking strength from one another. We want to provide pathways to navigate, survive, and thrive in this new era of industrialized marijuana. And we understand that families may feel alone in a world that is normalizing a drug that is causing serious addiction and mental and physical illnesses. So we developed family recovery resources, and we hold support meetings here to help support those families. So I will put a link in the chat as we get moving forward to all those resources. We like to start our meetings with a moment of silence that you can use as you wish, and then unmute and say the serenity prayer together. So let's go ahead and have our moment of silence, and everybody unmute who'd wish to join me in that serenity prayer. So here's our moment of silence. God,
God,
grant me the
give me
serenity
serenity
to
to
accept the
accept the
things I
things I
cannot
cannot
change,
change,
courage
courage
to
to change
change
the
the things
things
I
I
can,
can,
the
and
wisdom
the wisdom
to know
to
the
know the
difference.
difference.
Amen. Thank you, everyone. Just a few housekeeping rules, guidelines. This meeting is about recovery, which means healing. If you're interested in any advocacy work, you can contact me outside of the time of this meeting at Aubrey, which is AUBREE at everybrainmatters.org. We can't give medical advice here, and we don't discuss religion, but we encourage each member to embrace their faith and accept everyone's beliefs and allow their freedom of expression here. Um, if you are a family member affected by another person's marijuana use, we recommend Mar-Anon meetings and the Every Brain Matters Climbers meetings, which meet on Wednesdays and Saturdays now. And if you are a person who's struggling with marijuana use, we recommend attending our Every Brain Matters Young Adult Support meeting that just happened prior to this meeting and Marijuana Anonymous meetings. This meeting is being recorded, so we ask that you mute yourself at this time during the panel share. And we know that we respect the feelings and privacy of those attending this meeting. So if you don't want your comments or questions that you might ask at the end to be part of this recording, please just send me a message so I can edit you out of that part of the meeting. And we just welcome everyone with open arms. So let's go ahead and get to our panel. I'm going to do a brief introduction and get into a question and answer with the panel. And then at the end, we'll open it up to all of you to make comments or ask questions too, to bring more hope into the conversation. So we welcome Bart and Hazel Bright, if you guys don't mind waving, who have transformed the pain of losing their son into a mission of helping others. Hazel serves as the director of a local NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness. Did I say that? Yes, organization. While Bart is the founding member and president of the board of Mar-Anon. Um, both Bart and Hazel are a great source of support to other families that have been negatively affected by today's marijuana, and they inspire them to work a strong recovery program. Next, we have Mary Maas, who is currently, wave Mary, who's currently facing the challenges of having a loved one who is homeless and struggling with mental and physical health issues due to their cannabis use. And despite this, her unwavering faith allows her to care for herself while running support groups through Mar-Anon. And she also leads a mother's fellowship through Mar-Anon, and they share their experiences and provide strength and hope to other families. And we have Bryn Spacer. We give Bryn a very special welcome to this meeting. Bryn was unaware that marijuana could trigger a deep psychosis and lead to violent behavior, which ultimately claimed the life of her friend and nearly costed her her own life. Now she works alongside professionals, has a strong, supportive family, and relies on her faith to continue her healing process after this very traumatic experience. So let's go ahead. I'm going to dive right into the questions, and we're going to give each panel member about 2 minutes to answer. And we'll start with Bart. Bart, what are some of the healthy ways you're managing stress and coping during the holidays?
Well, actually, I need 30 minutes for that question. No, just joking. So for me, I'm really glad to be here, and I'm really happy to share. And anyway, I just feel gratitude, and I'm really grateful, which is one of the ways I get through the holidays, and actually try to get through every day that way. And I am really grateful and thankful to Aubrey and to Bryn and Mary and Hazel and everybody who's here, because I think we all help each other by just being here, and supporting each other. And so the Mar-Anon meetings really helped me, because again, before I found Mar-Anon, and before that, I was going to Al-Anon. I felt very alone a lot of times. I was actually depressed quite a bit, and I just shut down, and I didn't have much of a life. And then I finally found Al-Anon, gosh, about say 16, 17 years ago, and that really started helping me. Just realizing again, I wasn't alone. I got a sponsor. I started working the 12 steps, and so that really helps me. And then of course, when I found, let's see, Mar-Anon on a website and started the Zoom meetings, I didn't start Mar-Anon, but I did start the Zoom meetings. It was amazing. It was like I found all these other people that didn't say stuff like it's just pot or it's just weed, didn't downplay it, and so right away I felt a lot of support. And then another thing is that I found that the more I tried to help others anyway, and took phone calls and stuff like that, the more it helped me. So I definitely found that there's a saying in 12-step programs, that you can't keep what you get from these programs unless you give it away. So the more I give it away by volunteering and trying to help others, the more I get. It's really kind of magical that way. The other thing I do is I go to the health club. I'd say 5 to 6 days a week and work out. That really helps. I also have stuff I'm looking forward to, like getting back into pickleball. Took a little break from that, but I want to get back to it. And planning some trips as far as travel, spending time with my wife Hazel, and getting together with friends, family. And I also want to get back onto my mountain bike. And so those are the ways that I get through the holidays, and actually pretty much all the time. So thanks.
Thank you, Bart.
Mhm.
Hazel, let's go to you next. How do you manage the stress and cope during the holidays?
Um, the the stress level is definitely goes up during the holidays. I have such wonderful memories of our family. And what helps me is I've gotten back into baking Christmas cookies, and I was baking Christmas cookies with my next door neighbor. She's 6 years old. And what I have found is I'm getting back to engaging with my neighbors, or with my doing a holiday gift bag program on Saturday with NAMI. We provide holiday gift bags for those who are in board mentally ill individuals who are at board and care institutions and may not have a gift or a family to share the holidays with. And so I find that by reaching out and kind of, putting myself out there a little bit more, it does help me cope with the holidays, and also accepting the loss, and just kind of just being able to accept it and process it, and it's okay because I have a lot of things to be grateful for. Thanks.
Thank you, Hazel.
Mhm.
Bryn, we'll go to you next.
Um, well, if we're talking about like stress in terms of like a PTSD, some since there's a lot of feelings for that, I would manage stress that way from what I've learned from therapy. And so trying to regulate the central nervous system is what I've had to do no matter what time of year it was. So learning how to ground or movement, allowing emotions, being around people you trust in a safe space is kind of like the beginning of being able to handle any kind of stress or coping strategies, especially around the holidays. What Bart and Hazel have also said is being around, those, if, when you try to go out with the people, do some fun things, safe things, definitely goes a long way to be able to cope with the stress during the holidays. And not feeling forced to do anything, being okay with what what you can handle also helps. And then doing anything that I'm comfortable with doing, like reading, having a gratitude list, journaling, prayers, had any kind of distraction is how I get through stress.
Thank you so much, Bryn. And now we'll go to Mary next. What do you do, Mary?
So, I have been learning how to say no,
Oh,
which is a wonderful thing to do. So, just no to over decorating, no to overspending, which, I have a 3-year-old grandson, so that's a little difficult this year, but and then obviously no to overcommitment. Um, I will say that this year is actually a little bit better than last year. Last year, about this time, we lost our 14-year-old Golden. So it was really kind of a sadder season. My son was in jail as well. So this will be his second Christmas that he won't be with us. Um, so yeah, it's just you know, I think Bryn said too, just feeling free to not join in when I don't feel like like I need to, or being pressured. So yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much. And that leads us into our next question here. We'll go in the same route, the routine. How do you set boundaries with family or friends during the holidays? And please give me an example of a boundary you hold to take care of yourself.
Yeah. So for me, I think Mary said it all. Basically saying no when I don't feel comfortable, and say getting together with family or friends for whatever reason. I say it nicer than that, but usually try to have something else going on that I am comfortable with, whether it's just staying home with, again, Hazel and Hazel's mom, or having the day free, let's just say, whether it's Christmas or around that time. And then as far as the boundaries go, if I have had any kind of issues with anybody, again, downplaying or kind of disrespecting or not really understanding what I do as far as trying to, again, help others in this kind of situation when it comes to marijuana. Then I just am not around those people. I just don't, because the boundary would be I don't spend time with those people. Another thing is, if I do find myself with family or friends and I start to feel, let's say, triggered, because again, there maybe you're not showing respect to me or whatever, then I make sure I have like an escape plan. And also, instead of, let's say, if they say something that, again, maybe they might say, oh, it's not, marijuana's not addictive or something like that. Then I have, tried to remember to myself, and I say to myself, like, shut up, or change the subject to, maybe the 49ers or the weather or something like that. But I just make sure that I don't engage and pick up the rope. So there's a couple sayings, wait, why am I talking? WAIT, why am I talking? And another one is waste, why am I still talking? So if I feel like, I have picked up the rope and I start engaging and it's not helpful, then I'll try to remember that and say, okay, I'll see you later. I have to go now, or something like that. So thanks.
I love that, Bart. I love that too, that escape plan. I love the fact that we have that freedom. Like if we're in a situation we're not comfortable in, we can leave. We can go do something else. I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll go to Hazel next.
So when we start thinking about getting together and going places with friends and family, usually Bart and I will talk about it. We'll talk about, what are our expectations or what are we comfortable. For example, we got invited to a New Year's Eve party, and it would have meant driving up about 2 hours, spending the night. And we aren't the kind that really go out on New Year's Eve. And so I was talking to him about it, and we decided that that just wasn't our cup of tea. And so I think now, with all this recovery and our self-care, is we really think about our engagement, the events that we do want to attend. And you always have an escape plan. So, like if Bart and I are at a holiday reception that we've decided to go, and it's just not happening, so we check in with each other, and we're pretty respectful in that if Bart's, I say, yeah, I think I'm ready to go. He's like, okay, no problem. And so, um, and I think about what is it that I want to get out of these holidays? What's important to me? And it's very interesting as each year I'm becoming more important to myself. And it's really nice. And I can say no, or I can say not, I don't really feel like doing it then, maybe do it another date or, plan something else. And so I embrace the idea of options and what really serves me best. And so that's boundaries, I think, are really important. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome that you're important. I love that. Bryn, we'll go to you next. How do you set boundaries with your family and friends during the holidays?
Yeah, both of you said a lot of what I've done and still do currently. There's been many times where I would attend something that I just cannot handle, and I always make sure I drive myself instead of carpooling, or at least I'm with a trusted person to know and understand my situation. And if something's triggering or something's off, or it's just not safe, um, I definitely leave the situation. I definitely walk away, especially if there are conversations happening or anything that's triggering. I take myself out of the situation or the conversation because sometimes I'm always at the top of the hill, and even just the smallest things will make me crash. And so I always had to try to take care of myself to know what I can handle and what not. And I'm still learning those things even today to protect myself and my physical and emotional being, mental health and everything, to stay away from what I can't handle, stay away from the people or friends, or like Hazel said, just, you know what, I'm just not going to go this time. I'm not going to attend this. It's not a big deal. You're not really missing out. It's okay. Like, it's fine.
I love that. Drive yourself and go with a trusted friend and leave when you want. I love it. So much freedom in that.
Yeah.
Mary, we'll go to you next.
So yeah, for me, setting boundaries around the holiday is just being honest with my husband about my feelings and my daughter. And one of the boundaries that I set for this year was Christmas dinner. We're having dinner with some friends of my daughter's and her husband, and then their parents. So and I was all about hosting it because I like hosting gatherings. And I started to think, it might be kind of tough to host it. So I was completely honest with my daughter and I said, I don't think I can do it. Like I could do it, but I don't know that I want to. And she said, no problem, Mom. I'll host it. And that gives me, just like everybody else said, the escape route. If I need to leave, I can leave. And I also don't have, the ghost of my son in the house because I still, I mean, he lived here for a few years with us and I mean, he's not deceased, but he isn't here and he's not well. So yeah, so that was my boundary for this year.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mary. Okay, and we'll go to the next question. And Bart, you might have already answered some of this already, but please add to it. What are some of the self-care practices you rely on during the winter season?
Yeah, so it's basically the same stuff I said. I don't change it up during the winter. Obviously, if it's raining or whatever, we'll go bike riding or whatever. But I'd say it's the same stuff that I mentioned. Then I also just remembered, as far as travel goes, that we're going to go to Maui in February, so that'll help out with the weather there compared to the rain and cold here. But yeah, I think it's basically the same stuff that I mentioned before. Plus, like I say, maybe going south,
Awesome.
at least for a little bit.
Yeah. What about you, Hazel? What are some of your self-care practices?
My biggest self-care practice is I get to convince my husband to turn the thermometer up. That's a big deal. So that's like a victory, and I'm so happy. It's wonderful. I also have my when we're sitting watching a movie, I have my blanket and make myself a cup of tea, and I'll treat myself to a little, dessert or something. And I love it when it rains, and we can't complain, Bart, because we live in California. So we have really mild winters, and but we have a lot of gray days. And so what I do is I've been enjoying going to the gym early in the morning, around 8 or so, 8:30, and working out. And I kind of get this little endorphin rush. And it doesn't matter if it's foggy or rainy, I feel pretty good. And that's really working for me right now. So I'm happy about that.
Awesome. What about you, Bryn? What are some of your self-care practices that you rely on?
Um, a lot of, well, half of it's like movement and productivity. So sometimes cleaning something or organizing something like soothes me. But also not doing anything and just watching movies all day with my mom also um, is very calming as well. And taking care of myself just any way that, just little pleasures is works for me as well in terms of like getting a massage, getting nails done, maybe meditation, taking a bath. Um, and a lot of therapy too. Hmm.
Thank you for sharing all that. And Mary, what about you? What are your self-care practices?
I try and stay connected with friends and family. I go to church weekly, exercise, try to eat well. And I like to read fiction, specifically historical fiction. And I am gonna try and learn how to play ukulele. So I'm super excited about that. And I think, just learning something new. So
Well, we are looking forward to that, Mary, and we might
I'll
have
put
to,
I'll put on a concert.
yeah, we'll have to debut Mary, next year with this. Yeah. I just want to add to the self-care practice, not that it's, I didn't want to talk about myself tonight, but water.
Oh,
I
yeah.
get so stressed I forget to drink water, and then I'm like, why do I feel so low? And it's because I'm dehydrated.
Hmm.
Water, just the basic thing of water. So we'll just add that to the conversation. Okay, what are any family traditions that you feel too stressed or sad to participate in, and how do you cope with that? Bart, let's go
Yeah,
to you.
so it's interesting when we started having real issues with our sons and they were older and all that. um, I wasn't in the mood to decorate the house and put up Christmas lights and stuff like that. Um, but it's interesting how things work because we've become real good friends with our new neighbors right next door, and he calls himself Mr. Christmas. And so between, I think it was like a conspiracy between Hazel, Bill, which is Mr. Christmas, and his wife. I think they convinced me to put up Christmas lights. So this year, and so it's kind of the opposite. Is um, I'm more open to that now. And again, we have little kids now in the court, um, and so it's kind of neat. And so I thought, well, I'll do that. And so it's a tradition that I used to do, and I'm getting back into it. Um, and so that's a good feeling. And the court, now a lot of houses have lights where they didn't have lights that much before. So it's kind of I guess everybody's kind of jumping on the bandwagon as far as putting lights up and getting into the Christmas spirit more than I would say in the past. So that's kind of neat. And as far as other traditions, I really can't think of any other traditions. I mean, you know, um, we just kind of low key with Christmas and stuff like that, which is fine. Um, whereas when the kids were little, of course, and all that, we'd do the opening of presents and have the Christmas tree and all that. So anyway, I think that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Bart.
Mhm.
Hazel, we'll go to you next.
So I had a Christmas tradition of making Christmas cookies every year. And I have very fond memories of making Christmas cookies. And the boys would distract me and get in the kitchen and they'd steal the cookies. And we'd play this little game. And it was a lot of fun. And we would always go to our family, gatherings. We'd always bring the Christmas cookies. And so I started to bake cookies again. I think it was 2 years ago. And that was a really big deal because I had to get the recipes out. I had to get all my equipment out. And a lot of memories came flooding into my brain. And I was kind of overwhelmed. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I should be doing this. Am I in it? And so what I do is I bake the cookies, and while I'm baking the cookies, I have all my Christmas CDs. And I would play all my CDs, like straight for 6 or 7 hours. And the boys, including Bart, would walk in going, "Oh my God, if I have to hear Mariah Carey one more time, oh my God, Santa Claus coming down the chimney." They were just, I was, I'm the only woman in my house, and I really had to stand up for myself. But it was like this joke. And so I started baking Christmas cookies. And then last year, my friend was telling me anyway, so about her granddaughters, I says, well, I could come over and make Christmas cookies with them. So I made Christmas cookies with them. We had such a good time. And then this year, I went next door and I baked cookies with these three little six-year-olds, and we had so much fun. And I said to myself, it's different. I'm not baking my cookies because I get into some really neat recipes. We're making these sugar cookies that look like they're just covered with sugar icing and they're just like these big globs of frosting and everything. But they're having so much fun. And isn't that what this is all about? And I had to kind of say, Hazel, this is the new routine. You get to bake cookies with all these younger people, whether they're your next door neighbor or Linda's granddaughters or whomever. And so I'm making new memories and I'm allowing myself to embrace it. And it's okay. It's okay. So that is a big tradition for me that I'm recreating and I'm finding some joy in it. Yeah.
That is absolutely beautiful, Hazel. Thank you so much. And Bart, please allow her to blast Mariah Carey anytime she wants, any time of the year. Okay, Bryn, we'll go to you next. What are
Um,
some, go ahead.
so I think there's been a couple years where like we didn't do our traditions. We were either we just couldn't do it. We didn't feel motivated to do it. And we always would get a Christmas tree the Friday after Thanksgiving. And there were definitely a couple of years where we didn't care about a Christmas tree because we were just so deep in our emotions and just grieving and everything. So there's been years where we couldn't even decorate the house, have a tree, maybe tried the present, but it was just not enjoyable. But I think as years passed, you start to slowly do it again. You try the tree again. You maybe put a few ornaments up, or lights, or whatever it is. And like Hazel said, you kind of start to realize the purpose of the holidays again and who you are with currently and who is in your life currently and who are your loved ones in front of you. And sometimes it doesn't matter about the traditions. I think it matters that you're making these memories again and new memories again. Whether old or new traditions, change traditions, you're with the people you love and trust, and that's kind of what has developed later on in these years to be able to cope with these holidays.
Thank you, Bryn. Thank you for that. And Mary, how about you?
So, when I was a kid, it just seemed like Christmas was so magical. And then I had kids, and then it was like a lot of work. And then I started working for the post office, and then it became a ton more work. So Christmas has not been the commercial side of it hasn't been my favorite holiday. Um, but and traditions for us, they've always kind of changed, as the kids got older and all that. So but one thing I do want to say is sometimes I feel like I would like to just kind of crawl in a hole, and it would be okay if I did and didn't participate. But now with the new generation coming up, I feel like I need to be present for them. And sometimes I just have to do it sad, and it's okay. I'm how can as I'm sure many of these families here have been through hell and back with this with this drug. How can we not be sad, right? So yeah, and giving myself permission to be sad. So anyway, not a very uplifting note, but it's the truth. So
Yeah, we can't sugarcoat it. There's going to be days we're going to be sad, and that's, like you
yeah.
said, that's okay. We're going to skip the next question for time's sake, and we're going to go to the next one. Bart, how do you deal with unmet expectations?
Yeah, so main way is to not have expectations. Might sound funny to some people, but I've heard a couple sayings that expectations are resentments under construction, or expectations are let's see, and I forgot I forgot the other one, but anyway, but yeah. So for me, I like that one. Expectations are resentments under construction, because if I had a lot of expectations growing up and you know, many years ago and all that, before marijuana entered our lives, and and I just know that most of the time, I mean, a lot of times they weren't met, and so then I had resentment, and so and I, you know, would feel sorry for myself or be sad or depressed or whatever. So I have hopes, and I'll work for things and pray and try to do the work to make things happen. But I put the rest in my higher power's hands, as far as how it's going to come out, as far as how the income, you know, the outcome is. Instead of saying, you know, if I do X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to get. If I do A, B, and C, then I'll get X, Y, and Z. Usually that doesn't work that way for me. So I work toward things, I hope for things, but I try not to have, you know, expectations. Thanks.
I love that. How about you, Hazel? How do you deal with unmet expectations?
Well, when I find myself having dealing with an unmet expectations, I have to really ask myself, what were you thinking? What is behind all this? What is the end goal here for you? And an example is that we haven't heard from our oldest son in quite a while. I don't know how he's doing. I don't know where he is. I don't know anything. And so I've been doing a lot of praying, and I keep thinking, well, what if I just send him a text? I love you, thinking about you. And then it's kind of like, yeah, but you're doing it because you're expecting a response. You know, you need this, you need to know how he's doing. You know, this is something. And I just had to pray. I just had to pray about it. You know, it's coming up on Christmas, and I just had to let it go, because I know that when I'm seeking something out with an expectation, if it doesn't happen, you know, it's hard. And I don't want to set myself up for that. And I know I do that. And this program has really helped me with the tools on managing that behavior. So what happened is I was talking to my chiropractor, and he's in town, and who deals with a lot of different clients. And I said, so have you ever heard of so and so? And he goes, no. I go, well, you know, he's a tutor. And, you know, and he goes, oh, I just thought maybe you know, if you knew. And he goes, no. But then about 3 weeks, 2 weeks later, he sends me a text message. And he says, you know, I have some teenagers that are my clients, and we were talking about tutoring. And they told me you know, my son's name, and he's a really good tutor. And they really, you know, they really enjoy working with him. And you know, I was so grateful because I had let go. And I did so with a lot with Bart's support as well. I just let go of trying, you know, to meet this. And I thanked him, and I thanked my HP, and I said, well, I guess I got an early Christmas present this year. So yeah, I try really hard not to go to the hardware store for bread. That's what I keep telling myself. When I go, are you trying to get bread at a hardware store, Hazel? And yeah.
Oh, thank you, Hazel. Thank you. What about you, Bryn?
Yeah, just to bounce off Hazel and Bart, my first line in my notes literally says, don't have any for yourself, any expectations for yourself. I have gone through, I feel like, so many scenarios that ended up with me spiraling in emotions and digging a deeper hole that for some reason I thought I was going to expect something I wanted or needed, and it didn't happen that way. And so I learned a lot on how to adjust or drop those expectations, um, and focus on more what I could control in front of me, or what I was facing with, that I could put more of my hands on, and then just continue to celebrate the small wins, the small hope, the small this or that. Even like when you said your son texted you, I mean, that's like amazing. And so you just have to appreciate that that is worth it than anything that you might have expected. I mean, honestly.
That's
Yeah.
well said. Thank you, Bren. What about you, Mary?
I don't have anything else to say because that's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Don't have them and know what I can control. So yeah,
Go with the flow, right?
yeah, try.
Yeah, try. And okay, so we've kind of covered the next couple questions a little bit. But I want to ask you, how do you find support for yourself? And I know, Bart, you've kind of mentioned this before, but if you want to summarize it again, that would be great. How are you finding support for yourself?
So I find support through Al-Anon. I go to a in-person Al-Anon meeting with Hazel once a week. I do 2 Mar-Anon meetings during the week. Sometimes I actually go to another 12-step program. And let's see what else. Just going again to the health club, working out. I've become friends with a lot of the guys there, at least friends, health club friends, not necessarily outside of the health club, but we just support each other and help each other and maybe spot each other lifting weights or whatever. So let's see what else. Hazel and I support each other a lot. Again, getting together with friends, our neighbors, family, stuff like that. So I think that's about it.
Thanks, Bart.
Thank you.
What about you, Hazel? How you find support for yourself?
Well, I have a great therapist, and I've maintained that relationship. So that's really helpful. I go to my Al-Anon meeting and do service with that group. I also have sponsees, and they are an incredible inspiration for me to walk through recovery with another individual, to support them. They support me. It's really um, a wonderful, I've been really surprised how rewarding this experience is, because um, there's so much we have in common. And when you have that connection with people, whether it's in a group or with my sponsee or just with my next door neighbor or my friends, it 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 is it's so it's very positive in a time when I'm managing loss. So it it really fills my cup. It really fills my cup. And I also do my daily readings. And I find I'll open The Courage to Change, and I'm dealing with something, and I read it and I go, oh my gosh, it's speaking to me, you know? And I meditate, and I love being in my garden. And I tell you, every time I see that butterfly, I know that's Kevin
Mhm.
coming to speak to me. So that's how I take care of myself.
That's wonderful. And I love the way you said sponsorship, Hazel. I think we're all like anybody who goes into a 12-step program, we're always so scared to be the
Yeah.
sponsor. But when we sponsor other people, we learn so much from our sponsees, and we get that support back. So it is a beautiful relationship. So thank you for mentioning that. How about you, Bren? How do you find support for yourself?
Definitely number one is my faith through God, even if it's the thinnest thread on certain days or I'm mad at him. Um, but definitely my faith through God. And then my relationships with my family and my friends, or at least those that I can trust and I could be myself around, um, and that understand what I'm going through. and that accept you and understand you and that are not judgmental. And then attending therapy and specific therapy. So those that I attended a specific therapist that treated PTSD. At one point, I saw two therapists because I was traveling between two different states. And then medications. I've been on a lot of medications over many years that help suppress a lot of the emotions. And animals. I have 4 dogs and 4 cats, and that's the best. I feel like one of the best support for me.
That's awesome. I was wondering, now are all 4 of your dogs huskies?
3 of them are huskies, and one of them's a rough collie. Mhm.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I totally relate to the dogs, the pets. How about you, Mary? How do you find support for yourself?
So support, weekly support meetings, church, my life group, reading and learning about addiction and recovery. And reaching out to my fellow Mar-Anon members. It's, yeah, I mean, you think of support and I think of someone like holding me up, and we need each other to get through some hard times. So, yeah.
Amen. Amen to that. And I know Hazel mentioned Courage to Change is a great daily reader to find support in Language of Letting Go. I don't know if you have that. There you go, Bart. He's got Courage to Change. And one of my, besides that one, is Language of Letting Go. There you go. He's got that one right there too. Yay. Thank you, Vanna. All right. So- Okay, just a couple more questions here, and then we're going to open it up to the people that are attending. We are so grateful you are here. We want to hear from you for any kind of questions or comments too. Um, what is a childhood tradition or memory that you cherish?
Yeah, so for me, let's see. Um, oh man. I think yeah, definitely Christmas. I mean, getting my parents up in the morning and when it was way too early, and then they'd be, especially my dad would be like, "Okay, it's a little too early," and then go back to the bed, and then come back in like I don't know, half an hour later, and he's like, "Oh, okay," whatever. It could be 5 in the morning or something, and then opening our presents up and having the stockings and all that kind of stuff. So that is a really nice memory for me. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for sharing. What about you, Hazel? What's a memory you cherish?
I have 2 childhood memories that I cherish. The first is I successfully talked my mother into letting me open a gift on Christmas Eve. I just really was really effective and I wore her down. And it was so exciting to open that gift. It was a Timex watch. I'll never forget it. Oh, yeah, it was so great. So great. And the other childhood memory I have is I'd go up to the Charit's house because my mom worked a lot as a nurse on the holidays. And so when she was working, I'd go up to the Charit's and my friend Feeny and I would go in a room and we would wrap presents. She had a room just for gift wrapping presents, and we'd wrap all these presents, and then the dog would come in and mess everything up, and then and it was just so much fun. So those are my memories.
Awesome. Awesome. Congratulations on burying your mother down.
Yeah.
Bryn, what is a memory that you cherish?
Um, it's definitely Christmas Eve leading up to Christmas morning as a kid. Every Christmas Eve, we used to have a tradition where we go to my grandparents' house, and there would always be a surprise Santa to give out that comes and shows up to the house and hands out the presents to all of the cousins. And then we would make sugar cookies and milk for Santa. And we were so excited. I think we were allowed to open at least one present on Christmas Eve. And then the next morning, I would be the first one up, waking everybody up. we would see that the cookies and the milk have been eaten or drank, and then there would be a footprint outside of the fireplace as proof that he actually came to the house. And then yeah, of course, Christmas Day, being with my family, and I was always the first one to open all the presents and just helping everyone else open their presents really fast too. So it was
That,
fun.
that is awesome. I love that. I always had to check and see if those cookies were eaten. Yes. What about you, Mary? What's a memory you cherish?
So my family, I'm the youngest of 8. And so when we were kids, you know, we weren't wealthy at all, but we would have this big pile of presents, and we would open them one by one on Christmas Eve. So it was dark, and we'd light all these candles, and then we'd open them. We'd start with the youngest, and then, you know, like I would open a gift and then we pass it all the way around the room. So this, I mean, it probably wasn't this big, huge pile, but it seemed like it was a big, huge pile. And it took forever because we, you know, and we literally just sit there and look at it and go, oh my, that's a nice, you know, box of cereal or whatever it was. But it was just super magical. I loved it. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, here's the last and final question, and this is a tough one, but we got to be honest with it so we can give resources to one another, because these moments can happen. What if you just can't shake the blues? What if you just can't shake the depression you're feeling and you are having some dark thoughts? What are some resources, or what do you do in those moments?
Yeah. So if I have the motivation, if I can get the motivation to call someone again, like you, Aubrey, or just talk to again, Hazel, or anybody else who, again, I know is supportive and understands me, and basically what happened to us with the marijuana and whatever the issue is. Then I do that. That helps a lot. Again, there's Al-Anon meetings, pretty much, I think 24/7, pretty much on Zoom. So I jump onto a Zoom meeting, and again, if I'm not feeling that great, I might have my camera off, with my mic off, and just listen, and that really helps. Mar-Anon, we have like 11 or 12 meetings a week, so we're, I see, again, so new that we don't have nearly as many as Al-Anon, but anyway, it still helps. If definitely there's a Mar-Anon meeting, and then I would say calling the therapist definitely helps. I may just also just kind of go with it. I've never felt suicidal, so I don't think that's ever a problem. I think if I did feel suicidal, I'd call the hotline, but I never again have, thank God. But I think for me, sometimes I just go with it, lay down or turn on the TV or just veg out, and try to feel my feelings, and then have kind of, when I feel my feelings like that, or again talk it out, then after a little bit, I usually feel definitely better. So thanks.
Thank you, Bart.
Mhm.
What about you, Hazel? What would you do if you just couldn't shake the
Well,
blues?
if I can't really shake it, I really lean into it, to be honest with you. I honor it. I have grief. I'm a survivor of suicide, and I lean into it, and I understand that um, it gets really rough. And sometimes we have a memorial bench for Kevin up at the park near our home. Maybe I'll go up there and sit on the bench and I talk to Kevin. And you know what? I have a really good cry. I just have a really good cry. And it's okay. And I journal. If let's say I'm having some really negative thoughts, I have a journal and I write it out. And by writing it out and putting it on the page, I can acknowledge it and just understand that this is part of who I am because I love my son so much. I miss him. It's so sad that he's gone. So it's okay that I'm very sad. And I just, you have a blue day. And I do my readings. And if I feel like I can reach out and talk to some, I will. But sometimes I just have to spend time on my own. And it's okay, And I pray to my father and I pray to my HP. And then after a while, I can sit around and say, okay, can you just think of a couple things you're grateful for? Can I do that? Will that help me? Maybe it will. I don't know. But, you know, it's hard. Loss is hard, but it's okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hazel.
Mm.
Well said. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Um, Bryn, what about you? What do you do if you just can't shake the blues?
Um, I mean, there's been many days where I just have to scream. I have to scream and cry so hard and just let it all out. Um, in the shower, in my room, wherever I'm alone. It's to just cry it out and scream. And I had the grateful opportunity to be able to call my therapist any day, anytime. And there's been a handful of times where I could not. I was at the worst of the worst, and I would just call her, and she uplifted me in any way she could. And then I had medication and a stronger dose as needed. And so sometimes I would just take one of those to just really suppress what I was going through. Um, and and then whatever movement or distraction I could come up with or do, that's what I did. Mhm.
We know it's hard to share. That's the hardest question I've asked. So we really appreciate you sharing all that with us, Bryn, when we're here with you. Thank you. Thank you. We're sending you love.
Mhm.
Mary, we'll go to you next. What do you do to shake the blues?
So, I usually call a fellow Mar-Anon friend. Um, and when I share what's going on in my head, even super dark thoughts, um, I'm usually not alone. Um, and that helps. I mean, it just helps to know that you're not alone in feeling those things. I also know enough. I've had thoughts of, I'll just be honest. I wish I could die, but I haven't been suicidal, if that makes sense. Um, but I know if in my head I start making plans, it's time to call someone for help, um, professional help. So yeah, usually just calling a friend and talking for a while and then praying, and sometimes opening my Bible and reading different verses that helps too. So yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone, for sharing from your heart and your honest answers. I just to add to the conversation, one of my darkest moments, I was couldn't even speak, and people were worried about me, and my sponsor kept trying to call me, and I texted her, if I get too bad, I'm going to call 911 on myself, or I'm going to take an Uber to the hospital. That's what I'm going to do. And I reassured her that if things got really bad, that's what I would do. And to know that I just needed, like I think Hazel mentioned, and Bryn too, we just need to process what we're feeling and get through it. But if we can't get through it and those thoughts are coming even darker and darker, there's no shame in asking for professional help. There's no shame in that whatsoever. And, you know, you'll get through this, and then the next day will come and you'll even have more tools and resources. So it ebbs and flows, like I think we all learned tonight. So I really want to thank you all for being here tonight. We're going to open it up to everybody who's attended tonight. We are so grateful that you all are here with us, and we hope that you leave this meeting feeling a little lighter, a little bit more hopeful. So if you have a question or a comment, please raise your hand and I'll go ahead and call on you. Or you can put your question in the chat also, or your comment in the chat. We've got some really good positive messages in the chat already. So let me make sure I can see everybody. If I don't see your hand raised, go ahead and unmute and say, I'm raising my hand. It's a tough subject, right? Probably everybody's just processing what they heard tonight. And Bart, Hazel, Brennan, Mary, if there's anything you want to add to the conversation, please just go ahead and unmute too. Oh, here we go. We've got Sandy first. Hi, Sandy. It's good to see you.
Oh, good to see you guys too. And I don't know if anyone has any great ideas for if you're not going to see your child on the actual, holiday, but something, a way to reach out to them. If anyone had any clever ideas for something that they send as a wonderful text message, or that I at least am fortunate enough that I could drop off something for my son. But I my gosh, I've gotten to the point that just about everything I do it feels like it's the wrong or it's taken wrong. So I'm like, any other ideas from people?
For me, so we obviously can't control how the other person's going to react, but we can be true to ourselves. See, one of the sayings I like is be kind, be brief, be gone. Say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. So to me, as long as you are expressing your love and all that the way you feel best, expressing it, you might again maybe write down different ideas, maybe again talk to somebody like us who understands, maybe bounce it back and forth. What do you think? And then when you get really clear on that this is the right message that you want to send and this is how you feel, and again a loving message and all, then I would again try, for me, I would try not to have expectations, and just this is how I feel, and I of course I hope they take it in the right loving way and all that, but I don't have control over that. So
Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, I think avoiding asking any questions, but just expressing, thinking, like when I would get messages, I didn't like how people would ask me, "Oh, how are you doing?" I like the messages where it was just thinking of you, praying for you, you're so strong, or whatever encouraging words that would seem appropriate, and just leave it at that. And then it's in their court to be able to respond, or however, or not respond, whatever it is, but at least they receive something from you.
Awesome. That's a really good point.
We weren't with our son last Christmas. And, my husband made a big point of you really do have to focus on the people, your family and friends that are there. And we tried to make it as best as we could. And I felt like I was just pasting on a smile, and I thought I was just kind of faking it till I made it kind of thing. And our older son said it was a very nice Christmas, which I was shocked for him to say, but was really hard to do, but I knew that's what we needed to do. So that's something to think about too.
I think also speaking from your heart, like what you feel in your gut and what feels for you, and it's going to help you, not necessarily based on what they're going to respond to, but it's about you and you can control you. So just doing what feels good to you and not worrying about how they receive it or how they respond. It's about what you're feeling.
Thank you, Mary and Kelly. Anything else? Okay.
Peter has his hand up.
Oh, hi, Peter. How are you? It's good to
I'm
see you.
okay. I'm all right. It takes me forever to figure out how to raise your hand on this thing. I always admire the bravery. I mean, everybody just sharing these stories that, in my over 20 years now of working in this place, and then my own previous experiences, for every one of you that has the bravery to speak out and share these stories, there's hundreds, if not thousands, that don't have that ability to get to that point. And that's why I'm so proud of what you do with Every Brain Matters, and creating these forums and bringing more people in, because it's really going to take every one of us here trying to bring somebody else in, or getting, because there's so much of a need for this conversation to exist. I mean, the number of people living on an edge, a precipitous edge, where it's one thing to say one day at a time, but you're living only a day at a time. And it's hard. And so, I mean, I just feel blessed to be in a space where as many brave people sharing their story exist, and praying that more and more people can start doing this in the next year.
Thank you, Peter. We are definitely all benefiting from each other. I selfishly have these meetings, but I know we are connecting, and we are drawing strength from one another and healing. We'll go to Mary next. Hi, Mary.
Hey, Brandon, I'm curious, why, can you be more specific as like why we shouldn't ask, how are you? Like, I always think it's a caring thing to ask, like I would ask anybody, like,
Mhm.
but I do see that he doesn't like that when I do it.
So I think it depends on the person if they like it or not. But I think for me, sometimes if I'm being asked by someone that knows my situation, I'm not sure why they're asking, because they kind of already know how I'm feeling. Whether it's usually it's a bad day or a bad scenario. And I think it's a harder question for me to answer, because it's like I would say, well, my life is shit, because I'm sorry for my language, but it's just with like I'm dealing with probably one of the hardest things right now, and my life is on the line in a way. But at the same time, it's like I get that they care about me, but I also don't have the energy to answer and explain and defend and elaborate, because that's too much effort out of me then. Whether I'd rather receive a simple message saying, I'm thinking of you, I'm praying for you, and then I can say, yeah, it's been tough lately. Okay, then you can maybe follow up what was so tough about it. Maybe that'll lead to a deeper conversation. But I think it's a question that a lot of people don't know what to say to somebody. I don't know. I might be different, but I think it's a preference thing too for certain people. Does anyone else have to add to that?
Well, I do get you what you're saying, because I know when I was first diagnosed with a rare and aggressive cancer, sometimes I felt like I didn't even want to tell certain people, because I was spending a lot of time like calming them down and taking care of them. And like you said, you were struggling for your life. It's like, I don't have enough energy to hold your hand too.
Right.
Yeah. So I get that. That makes sense to me. Thank you for sharing that.
I think even like they always say don't ask open-ended questions, right? Like be specific about like like when your kid comes home from school, you're not supposed to say, what did you do at school today? They're going to be like, nothing. But if you ask like, hey, did you learn anything in math? It's more specific, it's more to the point. They can answer that question rather than trying to think about all the gazillion things they did in the day. So I think it's just being specific. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There are a lot of people that can care for you though, that they I think we have to be careful because they don't know how to do that. And so I think it's great when you tell them that that's not good, or you need to approach me differently. But I think it's a lot to expect that people that haven't been involved in this way would have any idea of how that would work. And now as that puts the burden of compassion on us to be able to meet them where they are, as opposed to expect them to be where we are. But I think that's a noble journey. I mean, I think getting people to understand where we really are, as opposed to I'm fine or life is good, we build a lot of walls in different ways, and there's probably more walls built with fake smiles than anything else. But yeah, I think it's rough. It's rough on people. To me, it's no different than the rephrasing of substance use disorder for addiction, when I know so many people that are sort of insulted by that because they overcame addiction and they don't like that. So I mean, there's really a sort of over I don't know. I think there's a lot of pressure on people that don't know what we've been through to figure out how to talk to us. And if they do it wrong, I got to say, I appreciate that they're trying. Because the only way they'll know any better is if we also meet them where they are in a way and sort of hold their hand and get them to understand what's going on. I don't think there's an organic methodology to do it without trauma.
That's good points. I like that, where you say, please don't ask me how I'm doing anymore. Just, contact me. I like that. That's good. Okay, we'll go to Kathy next. Hi, Kathy. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Aubrey. Well, first of all, thank you all for sharing tonight. It is such a difficult season. I mean, it's difficult every day, but it's especially poignant right now. So a couple of things I just wanted to mention, and I think it's so interesting, like you said, when you say, how are you? I know when people say that to me, that know I'm going through a lot with, with our son. I'm learning, like, I don't have to answer right away. When people text me, like, I've tried to learn that with my loved one. My problem is like I don't need to answer, because sometimes like people will ask you that, or they really do care, but you're in the middle of something else and it's just bringing it up to you again and you're not there. So, sometimes I just ignore it for a while.
Yeah. There's been times that I would not respond or ignore it.
Yeah, because it's hard. And then the other thing I was going to say, and I think Mary, you may have said this, Mary Sage, is like this faking it. Like I find, and I almost feel like bad about it. Like I feel like I'm fake it a lot. Like, I feel like I fake it all day at work. Like I go to work. I mean, most of my coworkers don't know what's going on, right? So I fake it all day at work. I fake it with, certain people that I don't share with. And sometimes I wonder if like faking it is it's getting me through the time, but is it the wrong way to handle it? So I don't know. Just interested. Anybody has any comments on that? Like faking that you're happy, faking that everything's okay, even though inside you're dying. But sometimes if you do that enough, you start to feel like, okay, maybe I am okay, right? Or like, so just
I think faking it sometimes helps you get through it, because it's a distraction and you're dealing with the work distraction, the work stress or the work issue. And it takes you away from your real stress. And so sometimes, I mean, when my mom was working while we were going through what we were going through, she was faking it and it was exhausting. And then once she got home, we all knew about it and that she was exhausted, and we just let her be what she wanted to be and just, decompress from faking it, because it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work to fake it. And then you're faking it, and then all of a sudden like a friend will text you and say like, how are things going or whatever, you're like, wait, I can't answer that right now. I'm in the middle of faking it. So anyway, thank you all again.
Thank you, Kathy.
this group.
I love this conversation. One thing I've learned through my recovery journey is, and I learned it from the counselor Joe Parker, who runs our climbers meetings. He's like, we need to really stay away from what's right and wrong. We can't use that term because through recovery and the circumstances everybody's dealing with, there's really no right and wrong. It's just like, how am I going to cope through this situation? So I love this conversation we're having. Thank you. And we have some really good comments in the chat here. Um, let's see. How can I go about getting a sponsor? I also wanted to express my appreciation to everyone showing their vulnerability. Thank you, Annette. Thank you for joining us tonight. Who wants to answer how Annette goes about finding a sponsor?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. So I would recommend attending lots of meetings, as many meetings as you can, reasonably. And then when you hear people share, and you let's say, like their shares, and it sounds like they have some experience with the 12-step program you're in, whether it's Al-Anon or Mar-Anon or whatever, then you can use the chat and maybe ask them for their phone number because you're looking for support. And then, call them a few times and maybe try to do that with a few other people too. And not to say, let's say you have one person that you really think would be a good sponsor for you. I think it's still good to have, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5 people that you have phone numbers for that you can call or get their email address and email them, or text them or whatever. And then talk to them over, whatever, who knows, a month or 2 or whatever. And then I would say, then ask them if they'd be your sponsor. And then on that note, what I would do is just know that sometimes it doesn't work out because some people's schedules don't, they're not copacetic or whatever, they don't work out with each other, or personalities don't work out, whatever, and that's okay. And that happens. And that's happened to me before as a sponsor and as a sponsee. And I've never really, I'm sure every once in a while people take it personally, but I've never heard of anybody taking it personally. And it's just not working out. But if it works out, that's great. And so I kind of think of it at first anyway as a temporary sponsee relationship to see how things work out. And so that's how I would do it.
Thank you, Bart. Anybody want to add anything? Okay.
I think having a sponsor makes a big difference in your recovery process. I think it definitely adds a different level. I highly recommend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're in a program that requires sponsorship, get a sponsor as soon as you can. Start connecting with the people you're relating to in the meetings you're attending. There's a lot of great comments in here. Oh, sorry, did I interrupt somebody? But I heard somebody speaking. There's a great comment about grief from Roland. Hi, Roland. It's so good to you're attending the meeting tonight. Thank you for joining us. Roland works in, I'm going to disclose, you work in drug prevention, does great work. Got to meet him this week. And he says grief is like 2 lives. One is where you pretend that everything is all right, and the other is where your heart silently screams in pain. Yeah, and Shandell said amen to that. Absolutely. And there's a lot of thank you for the strength, Bren, directly to you too. Julie said nicely stated. Yeah, absolutely. And then Shali said, I so appreciate hearing from all of you and sharing that holds us all together. Thank you for this meeting. Wishing you all peace through this holiday season and into 2025. Thank you, Sally, for that. Okay, I will open it up one last time to the panel members if there's any closing remarks you want to give, and then we'll go ahead and close the meeting for tonight. And I just really want to thank you all for being here. I thought this was a very impactful meeting. I know it helped me personally a lot. Bart?
Yeah, I don't really have anything else. I think my brain is full.
Okay. Hazel, what about you?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be with everyone and share this space. It's really great. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bryn, this is the first time you're in this space, so we hope you had an okay time. You know, it's hard work talking about what we're talking about, but any final thoughts?
No, I do want to thank you all for having me on here as well, and I look forward to hoping to do more, Aubrey. I think this is great, and I'm honored to be here, so thank you.
And we are too, Bryn. We're proud of all the hard work you're doing. So thank you for being here with us tonight. Mary?
So I just want to say that today I was in a meeting, a 12-step meeting through my church, and somebody had said something about, situations can be weirdly beautiful.
Mm.
And I thought that was so cool. And I thought to myself that, just having this community of people, it's, I don't wish anybody to go through what we've gone through, but to have met all of you and spend every Saturday morning with some of my favorite people, it's just the connections and the friendships that I've made. It's weirdly beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for it. If I had to go through this by myself, I don't know where I'd be right now, honestly. So yeah. So thank you. Thank you all.
That's a wonderful way to end the meeting. I apologize if I didn't get to your comments in the chats, but we're going to go ahead and wrap it up and just saying hello to everybody who's here.
Now, what about Hazel?
I asked Hazel, did I ask Hazel?
Yes, you did.
Oh, you
Okay.
did?
Yes, I
Oh
responded.
man. But you know what? I have something. I think I meant me, because I know you asked me, but then made me think. So I do want to say thanks to everyone, and I'm so grateful that you asked me to do this, Aubrey. And I do also want to say that all our Mar-Anon meetings are open, so anybody can attend. You don't have to have a loved one that has an issue with with marijuana. So anyway, please check us out. And it's the same thing with well, I think with Al-Anon, if the meeting says open, then you can attend that too. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Bart. And there's more to come with Bart. Every time you're with Bart and Hazel and Mary and Bryn, you're part of this group now too. There's a little comedy act going on too. So we always have such a great time. And most of us gang up on Bart most of the time, just so you
It's
know.
okay.
So that's the
I can
rules.
take it, I hope. Anyway.
Yeah, we love Bart. There's not one person.
Love you
And
too.
and you got support for your working out from Kevin in the chat too, Bart. So thank
All
you.
right.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's all end and I just want to express my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you that's on the panel and that attended tonight. My final thought to all of you is that you are capable. Don't ever forget that. You are capable and you can get through this and draw from the strength and the resources of being part of a community. We heal in community. We don't want to heal alone. So pick up that phone, call that trusted friend or family member. If you're having a hard time, lean into the grief, like Hazel said. So let's go ahead and we're going to end this with another moment of silence to use as you wish and to say the serenity prayer together. So please all unmute with that serenity prayer. Here's our moment of silence. Who brought us here tonight? God, grant me the
Grant me
serenity
serenity
to accept the
accept
things I
the
cannot
things that I
change,
cannot change,
courage to
courage
change
to
the things we
change
can,
and
songs
and
that
the
I
wisdom
can,
to know the
and the
difference.
wisdom to know the difference.
And
Amen.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
all.
everybody.
Thank you all.
Love you all. Take care.
bye, all you beautiful
Bye-bye.
people. Thank you for
Bye.
joining us tonight. I love each and
Yeah.
every one of you. And do what you need to do to take care of you. Bye-bye.